Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for you on the Challenge Australia. I am joined today by one of the latest evicted, or I should say eliminated, members of the Challenge Australia, Johnny. Johnny, I wish I was meeting you under better circumstances. I'm such a big Survivor fan, but I'm glad to talk to you nonetheless.
It is what it is, mate. It's good to talk to you as well. Yeah, look, I didn't go out the way I'd hoped. I was hoping to leave with a bit of cash in my pocket, but mate, it is what it is, eh? I mean, that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, it's one of these game shows, right? One moment you're on top, one moment you're out first. I mean, one of the best winners ever to play Survivor has gone out first and has won twice, and that's Tony Vlachos. So it just shows you, you can, one season you're on top, one season you're on the bottom, and it's tough when the momentum is against you.
Oh, mate, 100%. I mean, you're only as good as your teammate in the challenge, or in our little format of the challenge anyway. So, I mean, not putting any blame on anyone else or anything like that, but we've all had to, get to know each other and work with people we weren't comfortable working with and stuff like that. So it was a different sort of dynamic, and it was awesome. But like you said, when the momentum's against you, or the right challenge doesn't come up, or that sort of thing, well, I mean, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah. Did you know about the challenge prior to going on to it? Because I was quite surprised to see your name pop up as one of the players that we're going to play this season. Were you aware of it, or did you do your homework when they reached out?
Look, I'd heard of it. I'd never really watched it, so I started training for it. I didn't really know what I was training for. And then I sat down and I watched a season of it, the American version, and I thought, wow, this is right up my alley. Like I love this sort of thing. I'd love to take part in it. And then I got there, and man, the personalities, that's what really makes it. The challenge is one thing, but having to put up with some of these, glitzy glamour girls and, just, yeah, I'll leave it at that, like just
So
a
now I want to
different.
go into it a little bit, Johnny. I'm going to keep you at it a little bit. So how different was it to Survivor? You've been on two shows now. You've been on Survivor, being out on the island without much, and then you've got the challenge where you do, I assume, get food, and you've got all these different personalities. How does the two shows compare to each other?
Well, I think with Survivor, because you're constantly hungry and struggling to, sort of muster up any sort of energy, no one can really be bothered being a pain in the ass. Whereas with the challenge, you're all in this house and you're all fed and that sort of stuff, and everyone's got all this energy and they just need to expel it somehow. So I think that kind of comes out in drama. But yeah, I mean, very different experiences. On one hand, Survivor, you're constantly struggling, like I said, for food and stuff like that. You're foraging, you're gathering firewood and stuff like that. The challenge, you're basically just living in each other's pockets and, constantly annoying each other.
Now, how surprised were you not to see more Survivor players play this game? And what was your thoughts on seeing Brooke out there? Because we didn't really see you communicate on the show at all. And I was kind of curious what the working relationship was between yourself and Brooke, since you've played on the same season before.
Yeah, look, me and Brooke are mates. We're good mates, I'd say, but we don't exactly spend a lot of time together. You know what I mean? So for us to sit down and talk and that sort of thing, that probably would have put more of a target on us. So it actually worked in our favor. She was in one sort of friendship circle. I was in a completely different one. That was great. But yeah, in regards to not seeing other Survivor players on there, I was somewhat, surprised with it. I would have thought that we would have seen, a Mark Wales or someone like that pop up. But yeah, evidently it was only me and Brooke, and that was fine with me because I'm quite happy to meet new people. So yeah.
Yeah, you did make some new friends there. You got an alliance going with Grant, Ryan, and Jessica. What sort of drove you to working with those personalities within the house?
You really want to know? So when we when we first got over to Buenos Aires, we all got sort of quarantined, if you will, sort of just to stop us communicating with one another in this hotel. And I quickly worked out that if I dialed certain numbers on the phone, that I could get through to anyone else's room to room and talk to them. So I rang Ryan by chance, and me and him ended up on the phone talking shit for about 45 minutes. And one thing led to another, and we worked out which room Grant was in. And anyway, Ryan thought it'd be a good idea to send a raunchy photo or two via Instagram to Grant's phone. So we both started sending him. I won't say they were nudes; they were basically nudes. And Grant ended up coming out and banging on the door and asking us what the fuck was going on. And the friendship sort of, came from there. I don't think we would have got away with it too well if it was a girl, but boys will be boys.
Well, you end up spending time with a girl in your room, Jessica, and obviously there was a little bit of flirtation happening there. There's a few things going on there, Johnny, that we as Survivor fans have not seen you in that environment before. Can you give us an update on where you and Jessica are sitting currently? Are you guys still talking?
There's a reason why you don't see me in that sort of environment. And that's because I like to keep it fucking quiet. So going on television and doing it was a bit of an oversight. But look, me and Jess are cool. I'd say she's a good mate of mine now. Is there any romance going on? Well, that's fucking for me to know and you not to know.
That's fair.
No, but she is an awesome chick. And I wasn't really intending on going on the show and doing anything like that, but yeah, it sort of happened, and you've all seen it, and yeah, who knows?
Yeah, no, fair enough. Now, being on the challenge, a big part of the challenge is actually doing these daily challenges and the eliminations and so forth. What was it like competing on these daily challenges, and how did it compare to the experience you've had with Survivor before and doing team immunity challenges and so forth?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When I done Survivor, there was a certain amount of like, I think trepidation, is that the word? Like, before you go onto the challenge, and everyone's sort of concerned about it, more so because you could either you go hungry because you've lost the reward challenge, or you could potentially be eliminated because you go on a tribal. That's the Survivor take on it. But then with the challenge, people are honestly shitting themselves at the prospect of being thrown off a building, or the prospect of having to do something that would just totally make them feel uncomfortable from a physical and mental standpoint. So in that regard, like, yeah, it was scary sometimes going to certain challenges and not knowing what we were going to be put through. So yeah, that would be the difference in terms of the day-to-day challenges.
And you never sadly got the opportunity to get in power and throw someone down into the elimination arena. Who would have been your targets if you did get some power in the game?
Fuck, well, everyone else was shooting Connor, so I probably would have taken a shot at him, and he got me out. So now, look, it would have all come down to what point in the game we're at. I don't have any grievances with anyone in there, so it all would have come down to the time and the place. What was good for my game, that sort of thing. But it was hard for me because I tend to like people. So yeah.
Having played such a strategic game, such a Survivor, where it is all about, like you said, voting people out and being cutthroat, on the TV show, it looks like Brooke has got that mentality already because she's thinking those couple of steps ahead, trying to strategize. I'm sure for you would have been exactly the same because you've been on 2 seasons. Did you kind of feel like you had the upper hand being able to see the numbers, or do you feel like these people from The Bachelor and all these love shows, they caught on to it pretty quickly?
Mate, did you watch Survivor? I had absolutely fucking no idea what I was doing. So, look, I'm just sort of in it for a good time. Did I have a bit of a strategy? Yeah, a little bit, but nothing too detailed, nothing too complex. Whereas Brooke Jower is a fucking wheeler and dealer, man. Like, she knew what was going on. She has her finger on the pulse all the time, and she's playing the game the whole time. So, no, I was nothing like her. I was just sort of bouncing between people, getting to know a few people. I probably aligned myself, with what I thought was a strong alliance. And I mean, two of us are gone now, so it's just Grant and Ryan as the show stands at the moment. So, I mean, look, I obviously picked the wrong horse in that regard. You know what I mean? So my experience didn't work out too well.
Yeah. And was there anybody out there that you didn't get an opportunity to partner up with that you really wanted to work with? Who would have been the people that you would have loved to have had in a duo sort of going into one of these daily challenges?
Well, I never got to go with Brooke. So I think me and Brooke would have done quite well. You know, we've got that rapport that we've built over a long period of time on reality television. Sad, isn't it? Yeah, you know, like I never got to team up with her. I never got to team up with Brooke Blurton. I think that was pretty much it. But mate, everyone I got to work with was awesome. You know, like we worked well together, and you know, they're all good people at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you had the algorithm there. What did you think of the algorithm for this random Dio selection every week that had to have to happen? And how did you feel about being partnered up with Sorrel coming into this specific episode?
Well, if nothing else, it was fair to start with. Um, so I mean, can't knock it. In terms of being partnered up with Cyrell, we didn't win the initial challenge, but fuck, she got us close to winning that elimination in the arena. You know what I mean? So, I mean, in fact, she was a great partner. If one thing had gone our way, then we would have stayed in. You know, so Cyrell done exceptionally well in that puzzle. We were leading by a long way, I might add. You know, so it is what it is. But yeah, the algorithm was great. It made it fair. It forced everyone to, you know, get out of their comfort zones, get to know each other, that sort of thing. There was no separation or anything like that. However, I had fucking Sugar in the first episode, so if it had stayed that way, I had Sugar all the way through, and that would have been great because no one wants to fuck with Sugar. She's a world title holder, you know?
And how did that sort of, because it felt like in that first instance, the algorithm didn't really force you to play with someone. You had to choose your own partners. How did that partnership sort of come together with Sugar?
Oh, so when I seen Sugar, I was like, you're a mate. You're a mates with a mate of mine. So we had a mutual friend back in Melbourne where I grew up. Her best mate, in fact, I think it is. And yeah, just sort of said, hey, you know this person, I know that person. Got chatting, got along pretty well. I don't think anyone has a bad word to say about Sugar. She's just a lovely chick. So yeah, from that we just sort of stuck together, and yeah, I don't think Billy Dibb was really impressed because I think he wanted her as a partner, get the boxes together, you know. But fuck
Yeah.
him, you know.
Yeah, that could have been a lethal duo if you stayed together with her throughout the whole game, because obviously physically you weren't struggling at all, like we saw in this last daily challenge. Running, you know, your good mate said it looked like you were running away from something when you were out on that daily challenge because of how fast you were moving. Have you
Yeah.
always been a bit of a sprinter, and was that sort of what you thought would be your strengths coming into this show? Would be more that's, you know, physical stuff, anything that had to do with agility?
No, you got to have a good set of getaway sticks, don't you? Um, yeah, look, I do a lot of running. I go to the gym relatively frequently, you know, and I work a very physical job. So I know I've got the work ethic. I don't know. I'm not physically gifted, but I do put a lot of work in. So I think in that regard, I was pretty confident going into the show. You know, I'm not the biggest bloke, but I feel like I do pack a punch. But yeah, it didn't really work out, did it?
Well, ultimately it was very close, right? So you, like you mentioned, Sorrel and yourself, you packed the stack of puzzle pieces up quicker than the opposing team, and it was only the second or third last layer that you made a mistake, but you chose to take all of the puzzle out and then to start from scratch. Why did you guys do that? Why did you think of starting from scratch?
Because I'm a fucking goose, mate. I don't know. No, because look, I don't know whether it was myself or Cyrell, but we pretty much just said it's wrong. Let's just start again, and I just ripped them all off. And hindsight's a wonderful thing, you know what I mean? Like it could have just as easily been the first one that we fucked up. It just happened to be the second last one. So, you know, we started again from scratch. I'm a firm believer that you know, one voice, you know, and you just follow that voice. You know, I've played football all my life, and you know, if the coach says something, you do it. Cyrell was in charge. We were doing what she said, and she bloody nearly got us over the line. You know what I mean? That came down to a lot of luck, that exercise, so that
Yeah.
challenge. Yeah.
100%. Now, sadly, it didn't work out for you this time. Would there potentially be a second time if the Challenge Australia was to do a second season? You know, in the Challenge, a lot of people come back season after season. Would you be open to that?
Absolutely, mate. Well, wouldn't I be? I've said it before, mate. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't get to do that I would have loved to have done. You know, a lot of the one-on-one stuff I would have liked to have proved myself. I know after that elimination, I said to while we're standing there in the arena, I said to Conrad, like, there would have been nothing I would have loved more than to go one-on-one with him. He was the biggest bloke in the house. And I'd said it a couple of times in the show, you know, like, I want him one-on-one because, I mean, that's the ultimate challenge, isn't it? To go one-on-one against someone. So, mate, I want to go back just purely to do that, you know, to prove myself in those challenges and to prove it to myself, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, it was a lot of fun watching you this season. You were entertaining to watch, even though you were there for a short period of time. So I do hope you do get that call if a second season does happen. Johnny, I do want to give you an opportunity now. I know this is probably not your thing, but in case you've got anything you want to make people aware of, any of the listeners of the show, where can people find you? What are you up to outside of the show currently? Where can they follow you?
well, you can follow me on Instagram. But I mean, I don't put a hell of a lot of stuff up, to be honest with you. I'll be pretty much get on the airplane and go up to the Kimberley and go back to work for a few months. And if I get another phone call, you'll see me again. If I don't get a phone call, well, I'll probably just go into obscurity and yeah, you'll see me pop up from time to time doing something stupid or perhaps on Crime Stoppers, but that's about it.
Maybe Australian Survivor in the future, if they do another All Stars, they seem to bring a lot of people back as well. So I feel like you've got your finger in two pies right now. It could either be the Challenge Australia, maybe even be Australian Survivor. What about the Amazing Race? I'm sure there's someone you could run the Amazing Race with over in Australia.
Oh, mate, if you've ever done any travel with me, mate, you'd know that I'm absolutely hopeless. When I was coming back from Fiji a few years ago for the Survivor, I actually left the passport in some hotel, some little dodgy hotel, and got in a fair bit of trouble for that. So, yeah, the Amazing Race is definitely not up my alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not getting locked up abroad or something. I'd be better
fair
off
enough.
on an idiot abroad.
Fair enough. Hey, Johnny, it's been great talking to you. All the best with the rest of the interviews today. It was great meeting you as well.